Hello lovely people. So today I'm gonna try something that I never done before, which is a different type of content. So I'm gonna try to give like my opinion of something, because as you noticed from my previous videos, is mainly what I do is I test and I present the data and I don't interpret it and I don't give my opinions. So I'm gonna try something else, and it might be less educational and more entertaining. I don't know, we'll see. So it's just a try. If you're not gonna like it, I'm not gonna make any kind of that stuff anymore. I want to give my opinion of a few things, and I'm gonna try to tell you about 5 things that SQ heads do not care about. By like SQ heads, I mean those people that want pure SQ, they go to competitions and that kind of stuff. So 5 things that those kind of people don't care about in car audio. So first of all is head units. Yeah, SQ heads do not care about head units, just because a head unit is just a device. And most people, because I did some like uh, questions online on Facebook on different groups, and most people consume content by streaming or having their own like FLAC collection on some kind of a device. So the device that is your source, uh, it has to be simple and not overly expensive, just because like head units that have very good ADDA converters, DACs, they're extremely expensive. And what is the point of paying like $1,000 for a head unit? Yeah, if you can have the same performance from a phone. It's just because SQ heads do not use, I want to say most of them do not use analog signal. They're trying to go digital all the way from the source to the DSP, because the less DA/AD conversions you have in the signal path, in theory, the better it is for the signal and the less the signal degrades. So if you can um, have a signal from your smartphone or from a tablet and via USB have digital into your DSP, that's all what you need. There's no point of taking a $1,000 head unit, having RCAs converted to, I don't know, optical into the DSP, or like there's no point of doing that. You just, the best path is the shortest one and the clearest one, and in most cases it is digital. So SQ heads don't really care about head units. They use smartphones, they use tablets, uh, and they go digital all the way. So that's number one. um, Number two, power ratings. Now, how should I put it? SQ heads do not care if a piece of gear does its power ratings. For example, if you take an amplifier, yeah, me as well, like I do not care if my amp does rated power, because I know that I have SQ people love headroom, so they have massive amps like 200 watts for tweeters, just because of the headroom. So for us, it doesn't matter really if that amp does specifically what it states, or it's like 10 watts less or 10 watts more. It doesn't really matter, because we have so much headroom in our systems that those like plus minus whatever, it just doesn't matter. And to add on that, SQ people usually buy expensive stuff, expensive amps from very well-known companies like Mosconi, JL, Helix, that kind of stuff. And we know that those amps will do rated power, and they will do more. How much more? It doesn't matter, because if you're in a competition, yeah, you're playing, I don't know, 90 dB volume, it's literally 5 watts. So if the amp does 200 or 180, it doesn't matter. So yeah, it's like it's the same for like subwoofers. For an SQ system, a 300 watt sub 12 inch is plenty enough. it doesn't matter if it takes more than rated or it doesn't take rated, just because you're playing it the sub on, I don't know, 50 watts, maybe 100 watts. So it doesn't really matter. The rated power, the ratings, they do not matter as much as in SPL. Because like SPL people, what they like is like, oh, if this amp does rated, it's good. If it does more, it's great. If it doesn't do rated, it's a bad amp. No, not really. It all depends on the quality, so it doesn't really matter. So that's number 2, power ratings. Okay, number 3 is something that I can tie a few things into that. In general, I want to say bass. SQ heads do not care about bass, but in a slightly different way. We care about the quality of bass and the balance of the system. We don't care about bass knobs, auxiliary batteries like lithium. We do care about lithium for the playing time, but not the power. We don't care about like big 3 or like alternator upgrades and that kind of stuff. Just because in SQ we want to have a balanced system. A balanced system means that you have some bass over the mids and highs, but not too much bass. So like if you have like plus 50 dB of bass, it's literally only bass. There's no music. And in all of that ties bass restoration devices such as epicenters. SQ people, hello, SQ people do not care about epicenters, because when we want to play music, we want the music to be as artist intended to be, as it was mastered. And if you have a bass knob that you keep boosting the bass, you're listening to music. Yeah, it's fun. It's good to impress somebody, but you're listening to music not as it was recorded and it was mastered. You're boosting that bass that is not there, or you're creating that bass with an epicenter that is not there. And as SQ heads, we don't care about that, because we want to listen to music as it is. So if a piece of music, if a song doesn't have bass, you just don't listen to it, you just don't like it. You choose another one that has a better recording, because it's all about the recording. If the recording is good, if it's quality, it's gonna have as much bass as it's supposed to have. So like for us to have that extra, it's good for headroom, but it's not necessary, because we want, as I said, a balanced system that would have a balance between the high frequencies and the low frequencies, and there's no need to rattle everything. Again, it's fun as a roller coaster, but it's not necessary. Now, number 4 is something a bit controversial, because again, this is just my opinion, what I noticed. SQ heads do not care about brands. Yes and no. The thing is, like, what people like to do is they have a brand that they like, and they buy all the gear just from that brand. All the amplifiers, subwoofers, mids and highs, and everything just from that specific brand. SQ people don't really do that. What they do, they pick and choose the cherry tops from every single brand, what fits their install and application. Because in SQ, we care more about what the actual piece of gear can do in my specific car and my application. Because like, if a certain brand makes a product that is not ideal for my application, I'm not gonna choose it. I'm gonna choose a different brand that fits it better. And that is the main point, the key point. Like, brands do not matter. We can have in one car 6, 7, 8 different brands. We have one tweeter, different mid-range, different mid-bass, 3 totally different amps. There might be some problems, but most of the times you're choosing what fits your install, especially if you have a specific install in mind. If you want to do like a specific layout, you're going to choose the gear that fits it, and not necessarily the brand name. Because what I noticed in SPL world, so it's kind of a difference between SPL and SQ. In SPL world, everybody goes like by word by mouth. So one person recommends the brand, and everybody assumes that that brand is good. One person disses the brand and everybody else disses the brand. So like we know a few brands, I'm not gonna mention them, but like a few brands that are always hammered in all the forums and in all the Facebook groups because it's very bad brand. And some brands are extremely good. But like, what is the point to have the best product of a specific brand if it doesn't fit me? You know, it's not needed. So we're not scared of mixing brands. We're not scared of mixing cone materials or different amplifier types. You don't have to have all AB amps in the system. It's not necessarily. You can have A, you can have AB, you can have D, you can have whatever. You can have different brands, you can have everything different. So for us, for SQ heads, the brand doesn't really matter. We know brands that produces good stuff and they are well known in SQ community, and it's just because that brand makes the product that fits most applications, but not because that brand is just brand good. So we don't really care about brands. And number 5, and the last one, is the thing that everybody cares about. Everybody starts from it, and they think that is the most important thing that SQ heads really don't care about, is the gains. Like, everybody who puts the system, first thing they do, they set up the gains to max out the amplifiers. And this is another thing that comes back to the power thing that I mentioned before. In SQ system, we have loads of headroom. We might have 200-watt amplifier for the tweeters. It's not necessary, but it is what it is. So like, if you would set up gains to max out the amplifier, your tweet is gonna go through the roof, and there's no point. What we care more about is the sensitivity of the drivers to have a balanced system and to match them. So like, if I have mid-bass, mid-range, and tweeters, my front end, and I have the same sensitivity on all the drivers, or very close, plus minus 1 dB or 2 dBs, I don't need to play with the gains at all. And most of the time we have DSPs that have digital signal in. So again, the gains from the head unit, it doesn't matter because we don't like head units. We go digital in. So what we care about is the output from the DSP. Most DSPs have high voltage. So some, like Helix, has 8 volts, others have 4 volts. Very few DSPs have low voltage, like 2 volts or something. Maybe like, I don't know, like maybe mini DSP, I'm not sure. But like, most of the DSPs have high voltage going into the amplifiers, and most amplifiers are matching. Sorry, my cat is going on the chair. And most amplifiers match that voltage. So that means that if you're matching DSP output and amplifier input, the gains are always gonna be on the minimum. And if we have big massive amplifiers for subwoofers, bigger subwoofers that we actually need, we always have headroom. And the gains, they don't matter, because what we care is about the first few watts of the system, because they make the biggest difference. Like, to run a system on an SQ level, you really don't need any power. 1 watt on the tweeter, 5 watts in mid-range, maybe 10, 20 on mid-bass, 50, 100 on the sub. So like, to have those power levels, you don't need gains at all. In my system, all the gains on my amplifiers are all the way down. Always, I never ever needed to touch anything, just because my DSP produces more voltage than I actually need. The only time that you would need to increase the gains on amplifiers, if you have a weak signal. But as I mentioned before, most of the time, it's matched, the DSP and the amplifiers. You can have some quirks, for example, like if you take a DSP that has a lowish voltage, I don't know, maybe like 4 volts, and you have amplifiers, I think, I'm not sure, don't quote me on this, but I think like some Zapco amplifiers need 16 volts, or Mosconi, I don't know, like they need 16 volts to have the full signal. And if you mismatch the DSP and amplifier, you might need to turn the gains. And we don't like to turn the gains, just because when you turn the gain up, with the gain, you're increasing the noise of the system, and we want the noise to be as low as possible. That's why for us it's ideal to have the gains on the minimum. So we don't really care about gains. Yeah. So these are the 5 things that SQ heads do not care about. If you enjoy this type of content, if you think that it's interesting or fun, please comment and I might make something else, maybe like 5 things that SQ heads really care about, or maybe like something else, I don't know, something different. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. Yeah, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.